Welcome to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
Welcome to another edition, a fun fact, just a full edition. I couldn't even get the words out. I was so excited. We just have so much going on today, Simon.
We do.
I'm excited. The playoffs are on the line, Simon, in multiple different leagues. The Champions League draw has happened. Our new power rankings are here, and I'm thrilled. This is the best time of year for a soccer fan because there's so much that's happening.
And a young Premier League season where things are still being sorted out.
Exactly.
You got teams like Leicester City still up in the upper half of the standings. It's a fun time. I got a special shout-out this week, Baxter, that I have not yet told you about.
Oh, please.
Special congratulations to my nephew, Connor Provan, who plays – he's a junior over at Sussex Hamilton High School.
Okay, well done.
Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel named him as one of the top 16 players to watch this season.
Well done, Connor. Congratulations.
So congrats, Connor, and congrats to my brother Steve, who's the head coach over there, and my sister Joy, who is the assistant coach over there.
There we go. I love it. It's the Provans. Like I said, I've said it this multiple times, the Provans are taking over Milwaukee soccer. They have in the past, and they're making a comeback again.
The second generation. It's pretty exciting. You know, I stopped playing the game after my freshman year in college, but I've always loved it.
There
were other things I fell in love with, which is why I gave up playing the game. But
Fair enough.
Never stopped covering it, never stopped being passionate about it, and it's great to see it passed on to the younger Provans as well.
Absolutely. Well, if you enjoy our show, you can pass it along to your friends as well. Remember, we are live on Sports Radio America from 3 to 6 Eastern. I had to think about it for a second. From 3 to 6 Eastern on Sports Radio America, live 365, and tune in on Friday afternoons. And you can also listen to us on demand anytime you want on Spreaker.com, on iTunes, and on iHeartRadio as well. And then we are also on social media, Simon, correct?
We are. Last time I checked, we were still there.
I think so.
Yes.
I think that's what I was updating before the show, was something with social media, yeah.
Yeah, Facebook we are 2 Up Front, and on Twitter we are at 2 Up Front Soccer. Of course, we're also on Instagram as well now.
We
at
are.
2 Up Front Soccer.
Instagramming recently.
Yeah, and our personal pages, our personal Twitter accounts, at Simon Provan and at Baxter Colburn.
Absolutely. We will be joined later on in the show by Vavel USA soccer editor Chris Blakely, as he will be helping us sort through the madness that is the NWSL playoffs. Their end of the season is just around the corner with only a few games left, Simon, and some interesting implications for who might be sneaking into the playoffs.
Yes.
We already know who won the league, but we're going to talk with Chris later on to sort about who might those last 3 playoff spots go to. So, and we've got an NWSL game on in the studio as well. We're keeping an eye on the FC Kansas City and the Washington Spirit game also.
Which has tremendous playoff implications for Washington Spirit as well as the Portland Thorns.
Yes, who are in 5th place currently, so this game is huge for them if
Right.
they want to even have a hope to make it in.
Right, we know that Washington, with a win or a draw, they are in, and that obviously means Portland is out. And that's just to clarify, that is the final playoff spot that they're fighting for. But what you're talking about, those other 3 playoff spots, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, have not been determined.
Yes.
That Chicago is clinched. Obviously, like you said, Seattle won.
Yep.
Kansas City, right? Kansas City?
Yep.
The Kansas City
FC
is in.
Kansas City.
But it's that 2nd, 3rd, and actually 4th and 5th right now are so close that we don't know who's going to be
Exactly.
2nd, 3rd, or 4th.
Exactly. So as things happen during the game tonight, we will we'll keep you posted if something exciting happens. A lot of exciting action being played in front of us. But we're going to save our NWSL talk for our second segment when Chris joins us. But I want to dive into the MLS playoffs. Obviously, they are still several weeks away, Simon. But I love the what-ifs when it comes to playoff time.
Yes.
I live for the what-ifs for MLS playoffs, just playoffs in general, NFL, NBA, blah, blah, blah. But we're talking about Major League Soccer playoffs, and my New England Revolution are in the playoffs right now. As of right now in the standings, they're in.
Yeah, and we were talking about beforehand how are we going to go forward with this conversation. We can go a few different ways, but we're going to start here first by determining if the season ended today, since you have such a wide variety in how many or what teams played how many games.
Yep.
Like the Impact have only played 22 because of CONCACAF Champions League earlier in the year. You've got other teams, for example, like FC Dallas, they've only played 24. So we decided, you know what, let's go on the points per game table and see who would be in there. So from the East, we have, of course, DC's at the top. New York They were sneaking in there, but they had that loss last night
did.
to the Chicago
That
Fire.
should be very interesting to see how that plays. I don't think it's going to affect them too much.
I don't think so either. Yeah, and we'll talk about that a little more, too, with the power rankings. Columbus Crew, Toronto FC, New England Revolution, Montreal Impact are 1 through 6 in the Eastern Conference. I'll just go through the West real quick. This one surprised us. Vancouver actually has more points per game right now than LA.
The Galaxy, which would make it would make it interesting playoff-wise if they were to start today in terms of if they went by this.
Yes, very much so. Because then you also have in third Sporting Kansas City, who they've been hurting a bit lately.
Mm-hmm.
FC actually been hurting a lot with that San Jose loss they had a couple of weekends ago.
I totally forgot to mention this. We have Periscope as well as another way you can watch our show.
That's right.
We have people are commenting as we're talking about things, and we have to shout out to an American outlaw that's watching the game. So props to you, sir.
And again, thank you for all your support.
Yes,
and I can't disagree with you. The blue and gold of the LA Galaxy, man,
yes,
they are.
He was giving his shout out to his team. I don't understand how I'm literally looking at us in the screen. How do I forget to mention Periscope?
Right.
I'm sorry, Periscope. I'm very sorry. It's not that we don't love you, because this is probably one of the funner parts of our show. I know, funner. But more fun parts of our show is being able to interact with Periscope viewers.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Sorry.
That's awesome.
I wanted to get that out of the way because I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot.
I just wonder at what point do they stop calling them the LA Galaxy and they start calling them the LA Demolition or something to that effect. My goodness. 5-0, 4-0, 5-1. Goal after goal after goal.
It's like a bad FIFA game against a guy that's been playing for years against a rookie. It's like, let's play FIFA. I'm actually going to destroy you.
And Gerard came out too this past week and said that the Galaxy could definitely compete in the Premier League. And when you watch them play, he's not saying that they'd be up there with Man City or Man United or Chelsea.
No, they don't have the capital for that.
But for the fact that they'd be fighting to stay in the league and would do probably quite well.
Yeah.
Mid-table, maybe lower mid-table. I know there's people out there going to say, you're crazy, man. If anything, they're a championship team.
Have you seen, the Galaxy, though? The way they play?
We've talked about this before. They are in the running to be the first super club in MLS. Their play is amazing. They get all these players in there. And Bruce Arena, first of all, I think he's part of a miracle worker, that he's got all these big guys in there with these, big contracts, could have big egos, but he knows how to manage those guys.
And that's what blows my mind is the fact that someone like Bruce Arena is able to do all of that. And then you look at Seattle Sounders, who also spend a ton of money, and they're not even in the playoffs.
No, not according to their points per game. And some of that is injuries. Obafemi Martins has been injured. Clint Dempsey's been injured. But still, you look at the last 4 years, Seattle still haven't lifted that cup.
They haven't, and I think MLS, if it's not the Galaxy, it's got to be the Sounders, from a league perspective. Not that the league has favorite teams, but...
Oh, yes, they do.
Exactly.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay as unbiased about that as possible, but you can tell, though, that's if it's not LA, it's got to be Seattle, and if it's not, well, then...
Well, you've got New York City FC now, too. That's the new baby.
The baby. As
right?
I say, that is the absolute new baby that they are putting all their money into, and it's not exactly working out in their favor.
Yeah, it's been a rough year for them, but again, expansion team as well. They've got their big players, Pirlo and Lampard, kind of, if he gets back on the field.
No, I don't even classify Lampard as being anything relevant this season. He's done literally nothing, and when he's been on the field, he's done nothing. So no, I don't. He does not. He doesn't have my respect, at least in terms of. Sure, he's got a great resume coming in, but he's done nothing since he's been in the league.
No,
he's been hurt, quote unquote hurt.
And just the way the whole thing happened with him, we were told that he signed with the team, and then we find out that he actually didn't. He just signed with Manchester City, and right. It
was just a massive debacle, and ever since that whole debacle happened, I'm like, no, I have no more respect for Frank Lampard in terms of what he is now. Yes, his career as a whole, well, of course, but the way he is right now, no, absolutely not. And I do find it funny, though, Simon, that both Orlando and New York and Montreal are all tied with 28 points. And even honestly, the East is wide open for that last spot. Let's be honest.
All the way down to Chicago.
There
and
are 6 teams fighting for one spot.
If Chicago played the way they played last night, and we'll talk about that game a little bit more in depth, they'll make the playoffs in the East. I have no doubt about that. So if we want to jump ahead and talk about teams that we think will make it.
Yes.
9 or 10 weeks from now.
Let's do that.
I think Philadelphia Union actually
Really
is going to make that.
Are you serious?
I am serious because I don't New York City FC, I don't think they're going to figure it out the rest of the year.
No, they're going to get close, but I think they're going to collapse at the end.
Well, and Orlando, I mean, they haven't just been losing. We talk on the opposite end of the galaxy. We look at Orlando. They're not just losing; they're getting beat silly.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to give it a run. Philly has 3 wins in a row right now.
I suppose.
Or around there. They've either way, they've been playing. I'm not going to say well.
Mm-hmm.
They've been playing better. Sebastian Letou. I'm sorry, it's 2 draws and a win, so it's a 3-game unbeaten streak that they're on. But Sebastian Letou, he's carrying that team right now as well.
They are. I agree. I agree with you in that. But the only thing that bothers me is their goal difference. They're -10 in goal difference. They've allowed 43 goals and only tallied 33.
Yeah, and they, let's be honest, they are a streaky team.
They really are. I would never put any money on the Union if I was a gambling man, which I'm not. But if I was like, oh, you have to bet against the Union, I would be like, no.
So let me ask you then, who do you think? And I like I said, the way they're playing, I would put my money right now, and you'll probably laugh at me for this. But again, this is kind of basing it off of one game.
Absolutely.
If I had to put money on there, I would go with the Fire.
Okay.
Climbing that table and taking that 6th seed. So how about you? Who do you think grabs that 6th seed? Because it's tougher in the East to figure that out than the West.
And that's the hard part, I feel like, because part of me, with the Champions League run that Montreal made, I want to believe that this team is as good as they were in the Champions League. The CONCACAF Champions League. I feel like Montreal's got all the right parts to do it. It's just if they can, they're kind of like Philly where they're streaky. I think they
are streaky.
I think it's honestly that 6th seed right now is just really like let's spin a dartboard and then throw a dart and then it's Montreal that's in the playoffs this week. Like, how are you really gonna know? And Orlando,
you want it to be Orlando. Is that right, that you want it to be Orlando?
I don't know. I don't want it to be Philly because aside from being a Revolution fan, the Philadelphia Union have never impressed me.
I get that.
Chicago, sure. I think that would make a great, from a media perspective, as a media personality, I would love that story. Last place in the conference, grabbing a playoff spot, that's huge.
Sure.
But
you still haven't answered my question.
I know.
Oh, you're just about to. I interrupted.
I know.
You.
But at the end of the day, I already said that New York won't make the playoffs. I would love it if Montreal grabbed the last spot.
Okay.
I think it would be awesome if all 3 Canadian teams made the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I think we're finally going to see Toronto do it for the first time. I was watching the
knock on wood,
the Amway Canadian Championship last night, which Montreal got shut out 2-0. What really worried me about that game for Montreal, and I think we see some of it in the league as well. It looked like they just gave up. They gave up. They did get a yellow card early on that was questionable, then a red card, so they're playing with 10 men. But man, Vancouver, they go into Montreal.
They're white hot.
They went into Montreal the first game, and they win 2-0. Then they go to Vancouver last night, and Vancouver puts in 2 more goals, and that's a hot team.
Absolutely.
A lot of times you can look at teams out when they're playing games outside of MLS and say, well, that's
the real team?
Well, no. Just that's an anomaly. That's not going to be the team we see in MLS.
That's true.
But the Impact seems to me the type of team, because they tend to play the same players all the time. You got Rio Coker in the back.
They seem very consistent with the product they're putting out.
Right. And they didn't look very good last night. They seemed to give up, and I just wonder, are we going to see that the rest of the season? Or is losing the Voyagers Cup last night going to be the impetus that they need to get things together and compete for that 6th spot?
That is very true. I mean, just briefly looking at who Montreal trotted out last night, like you said, Nigel Rio-Coco, Dominic Erduro, Justin Mapp. Didier Drogba did not play last night.
No, but let's be honest, he didn't look very impressive in his debut either, which
didn't
surprise me.
It's going to take him a little while to get up to speed, I feel like. Andres Romero played, Eric Alexander
Justin
played.
Mapp was in there.
Yeah. Who else? That is Kayla Malice. Ayongo played. Their defense is a little shaky in my personal opinion, but I think they've got a good product, though. I think that is good enough that they could sneak that last spot, but they're not. They're miles away from challenging for a title.
All right, so that's the East. Let's move to the West. We could actually debate the 5th and 6th place who we think is going to be in there.
I think that's very debatable. Yeah.
So I started with the East. Oh, we just fell
Sorry,
down.
I just completely destroyed Periscope.
I got
I'm
such
so
a-
sorry.
Got such a headache
I
after
gave you a
that
headache.
fall, man.
So sorry, everybody. Awkward. I kicked the chair in front of me, which kicked my laptop, which kicked the case, which kicked the iPad, and then it just was. But I don't know. What are those chain reaction things called? Like,
Dominoes?
aside from dominoes. I know what dominoes are. Isn't like those things that you see where, like the balloon drops, it lands into a pan that like sends the car down the ramp. That there's like some weird like thing for name. I don't know.
Oh, it's called the Goonies thing that happens in the Goonies movie.
Sure. We'll go with that. I know there's some actual.
He has no idea what I'm talking
It's a
about right
science.
now.
I've never seen the Goonies. I don't know. Anyway, I was hoping that your knowledge would precede it and be able to help me.
Sorry.
Basically, I'm just calling you old. That's what it comes down to.
So let's talk about the Western Conference
the Western
here.
Conference. The 5th and 6th spots, Simon, are up for debate because, honestly, every team still has a shot.
Every team still has a shot, and here's the tough thing for me. You've got Seattle, who has all these injuries. Houston, all of a sudden, is in a injury madhouse.
Seems to be the theme.
So it's hard to say where Seattle and Houston are actually going to end up. I feel like we kind of cursed some of these teams because just 2 weeks ago we were talking about Houston and how impressive they've been looking, and we thought that they would end up in the playoffs again. And as soon as that discussion happens, a couple of nights later, they have all these injuries, and they still have that 2-2 draw with Portland. But yeah, I like that idea.
Seattle is not going to make the playoffs. I think it would be great if San Jose just leapfrogs over Seattle and Houston and just steals a spot.
At this point,
I think they will.
At this point, I think that 3-game win streak, and that one I know is for sure. It is a
Absolutely.
3-game win streak. I see San Jose at number 6, possibly number 5, maybe getting up there above either Portland or FC Dallas actually dropping to one of those 5th or 6th spots, and Portland possibly climbing to the 4th spot.
Now I'll ask you this: does FC Dallas have a chance to miss the playoffs?
They have not been playing well.
No.
I don't.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on down there. Blas Perez not doing well. Castillo not doing well. They've the results have not been impressive. I mean, they're on a 3-game losing streak, which includes a 2-0 loss to the Chicago Fire,
which never looks good on anybody's resume.
So yeah, there is a chance. There's a chance they don't make it.
Okay.
I think they will. But
I think so
too.
too.
I think they're going to drop, and we'll see. We'll see that 4th spot actually be battled out between Portland and San Jose.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I would have to agree with you on that one. I think Seattle's going to drop out. I think San Jose will move up. RSL, I think they're just this year's not their year. I think they need to figure out their act. They've lost too many people.
You trade away Sabrillo,
yeah.
but
they need to bring in some more attacking options.
They did. They got a DP, an Argentine
I heard that.
DP,
yeah.
in there. When Plata plays, I'll tell you what, that's a different
I love
team.
watching him
He's
play.
great. But yeah, I feel like it's not Salt Lake's year. They've got perhaps a little bit of rebuilding to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Colorado. They got that win last night against Houston.
Which just completely... You had a fun name for it, the way
I
that
did.
everything happened
I
last
called,
night.
Yeah, if we want to jump into that discussion, I called last night the Night of the Living Dead. Because both last-place teams from the East and the West ended up winning. Now, of course, Chicago's win was more impressive. They beat the Red Bulls.
Yeah, no kidding.
Colorado beat the Houston Dynamo, who, again, they don't have DeMarcus Beasley, a couple other players.
Is that really such a big factor, though, if they don't have DeMarcus Beasley?
I think so for Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, because
fair enough.
He surprises us every time.
That's true. The man's still got wheels, surprisingly.
Ricardo Clark is also out for Houston, and he may not have been impressive on the national team level, but he's one of the cogs in that team.
Okay.
And then Taylor as well. So, Houston had I like to call it an almost impressive draw with Portland a couple weeks back. They were up 2-0.
They just don't want to give them that. Okay. If they were up 2-0 and then drew, that's totally different.
And they drew in the final 6 or 7 minutes that Portland got their goals.
Yeah, no.
But anyways, I wanted to talk about one play in particular.
Please.
Bit controversial last night in the Chicago Fire.
I was hearing about this, yes.
Well, I watched it. I don't see what the controversy is. So Lloyd Sam is in the corner.
Yep.
He touches the ball with his foot to make it, and I thought it was really slick how they did it. He touches the ball to make it look like he was actually just setting up the ball for the next guy to come and actually take
Sure.
the corner. Well, he touches the ball. It's a live ball now.
Oh.
The only time the one revolution law comes into effect is on the kickoff,
Okay.
right? So that's what a lot of people were saying as well. If Lloyd Sam did touch the ball, he didn't move it forward. You don't have to. It's just like when
Yep.
you watch all these indirect kicks.
Yeah,
one
I've
player
seen that before.
steps
Yep.
and
Just got to tap it.
Yep. So he taps it, and Chicago really must have not seen it. So Sasha Kljestan comes over. And if you watch the replay, you can actually look at him talk to the AR, asking him a question, and you see the AR give him the slightest of nods, which
Just a
obviously
little-
the question was, is this a live ball?
Hmm.
So then Sasha starts dribbling in, takes one touch, so Chicago thinks he can't take another touch, but he does. Now the Fire players are all confused. In that confusion, Kljestan crosses the ball into the box, and the Zabar, New York Red Bulls player, puts it in the goal. So that was the controversy, is was that a legal play or not? I've looked at it several times, and from what I know about the laws, it was a completely legal play.
Strange.
So that tied up the game. But
Yes.
here was the thing that was impressive
Okay.
about Chicago. Iguana Nike got 2 goals last night. Now he has 4 goals in his last 3 games.
Oh, my.
Gilberto was in last night playing very well. Akam has been playing well for the Fire as well.
Yep.
Even Michael Stevens has been getting involved.
Oh, good for him.
So I kind of wonder, after looking last night, the Fire, they were down early 1-0, and we've seen a lot of times for the Fire, that means the game's over.
Yeah, the fire's been extinguished.
But Iguana Nike comes in and gets his first goal. Then we see another goal, and then they finish off the game with like I said, Iguana Nike's second goal on the night. So Chicago, they don't just win a game; they beat the New York Red Bulls.
Yeah,
3-2
That's
after
not
being
just
down.
saying anything. Like, that's a big deal, honestly.
So that to me was the game of the night for the Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, no kidding. They brought the dead back to life, honestly. But it might honestly have. Has Chicago
Right.
lost that game last night? Yeah, it's a long road.
It is a
honestly.
long run. It still is, but man,
It's much
I'm
more
telling
doable
you,
now,
they,
though.
And they haven't been doing horrible. In their last 6 games, they've had 2 losses. The other
That's not
2
bad.
draws and 2 wins.
Who does their next 3 games that they play?
Let's see if I space up here on my computer a little bit. We've Orlando City,
That's a win.
Montreal Impact,
Probably a win.
and once
New
again the
York.
Red Bulls. So we'll see about that.
Chicago could potentially grab 6 out of their next 9 points.
And look, the rest of their schedule, it's a mixed batch of things. After those 3, they play Orlando again.
That's probably
very
another
possible win. Montreal again.
Possibly.
Toronto, which at this point I'm picking the Fire over Toronto.
Okay.
Of course, Toronto had that big win over Orlando, but
It's not saying
that's the
much.
game they win.
Yeah.
But then they have the Revolution, DC United, and the Red Bulls
again.
again. So that's why I say it's a mixed bag for
So
Chicago.
if Chicago can at least grab 12 points? 12 points out of those games, that might make an interesting
Yeah.
turn of events. So, all right, well, Simon, we need to move into our 50-50 segment.
Right. Speaking of playoffs.
The playoffs, Simon.
Playoffs?
Playoffs! I was hoping you were going to make the reference. I wanted to do it, but I'm like, this isn't a football show. I mean, it
What do you
is.
mean it's not a football show?
Football show. All right, Simon, walk us through what we got this week.
All right, so the 50-50 segment, the reason it's connected to the playoffs is this was actually spurred by a conversation that Baxter and I, that the two of us had,
An intelligent conversation we had
Right.
about soccer.
which is very odd for us to have happen for us. We're talking about the NWSL, the Seattle Reign,
Yep.
champions already with 2 games to go. We're talking about that the Washington Spirit, they've got a tough schedule, and their last game is against Seattle. And
Tricky.
we're kind of thinking about, should a team that's already clinched a playoff spot with a couple of games to go begin to rest its players, or should it continue to play its starters?
Okay.
So
a very interesting question.
Right. So it doesn't mean just for the NWSL. We're talking about this in a more general sense.
Yeah, we're using that as an example.
Yes. So you get 45 seconds. I get 45 seconds, much like a football match in which 45 minutes on either side of the whistle. Of course, we're doing it in seconds instead of minutes because that would make way too long of a show.
Absolutely.
And
I got time for that kind of stuff.
right. So like I said, we get about 45 seconds each, and we time each other, make sure we're following the rules
Keep
here.
it together.
Usually don't allow any type of stoppage time. It happens once in a while, but
It's usually for Simon because he likes to ramble.
that's right. Yeah, I can't shut up. I can't shut
There,
up.
I don't have a whistle, like an official whistle either. I could mute his mic. I could do that, but
Maybe you should.
I might. We'll see. Don't try me. We'll see. All right, Simon, you get 45 seconds. Are you ready to go, sir?
I'm ready to go.
On your mark, get set, go.
Now, this might surprise you, and I may have to use examples from other sports.
Okay.
But I don't think players really should be rested. I think you play your starting 11 as much as possible because you need that rhythm. We've seen too many times this has actually happened to Seattle. Big famous one was the Indianapolis Colts when they had a undefeated season going on. They rested a bunch of their players, and then they lost in the first round of their first playoff game. And it's because you see the gel that was brought into a team, the cohesion that was there, gets lost. Mm-hmm. So I say you continue to improve by playing your starters all the way up until the championship game. I got 5 seconds left. I got nothing else to say.
You can say hi to your mom.
Hey, Mom.
There you go. Say hi to your wife.
Hey,
your
family.
kids.
Hey,
There
Sarah,
you
Grace, and Bethany.
Time's up. All right. There we go.
See, now you
I
let me
usually
go.
try to open it up to, be like, say hi to your family. Say hi
I
to
like
your
that.
mom.
I like
At least say hi to mom. You got to give mom credit.
All right. So I only took 40 seconds this week. Does that mean I get 5 extra seconds next week?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Sorry.
All right, Baxter. I have the sense you're going to tear me apart this week. But
We'll see.
all right. Well, whistle's blown. Go.
Okay. I'm a firm believer in the fact that if you have a championship sewn up and you have a quote-unquote meaningless game, don't bother wasting your prime players. Let them rest. Let them take that extra opportunity to really get their mind set for that playoff game that's coming up around the corner. Give some of your younger players an opportunity to play against, especially if it's against a high-quality team. If you're already qualified for the playoffs, if you're already content with the spot that you're going to get, let your younger players get the opportunity to come in and play and experience what it's like to play against a high-caliber team. Because at the end of the day, if you end up losing your stars, hypothetically, since we're Packer fans, if you were to play Aaron Rodgers in the last game of the season in a meaningless game, he gets injured, Packers' playoff chances are gone, and there's really no help from back from that.
All right.
Couldn't think of the last
Yeah,
word to say there.
No, I actually think it's a valid argument on both sides because you
agree.
do take that risk of injury.
If I was a coach and I were to play my star players and they were to get hurt, the off chance they were to get hurt, that's on the coach.
I think I take a more fatalistic view
Fatalistic view.
in that if they were going to get hurt in that game and you rested them, they're going to get hurt anyways in some other game.
You're one of those.
Well, the thing for me too, though, is I feel like you give your younger players experience in exhibition games,
Fair
not
enough.
so much in still a competitive game. Especially if you're talking like the Spirit, who may still be fighting for a playoff spot.
That's true. Well, we're going to talk about the NWSL playoffs coming up in our next segment as Chris Blakely of Vavel USA will be joining us. We're going to go to a break. Don't go anywhere. This is Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
Welcome back inside the studio, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you listening to us, remember you can catch us on Fridays from 3 to 6 Eastern on Sports Radio America, Live 365, and tune in. Sorry, our studio is ringing, apparently. Goodness. We're trying to technical issues here. Anyway, Simon, talk to the good people. I need to figure this out.
All right, my good people. Well, we're heading into NWSL playoff season as well, closer than MLS. Most teams have 2 games left. A few have 3 games left. It's 0-0 right now with the Washington Spirit game. This is a big game for Washington. It's basically this. If Washington wins or draws, they're in the playoffs. The Portland Thorns are out. Here's the tough thing. Including tonight, the Spirit have 3 games remaining. But then they have fixtures against Portland, against Seattle after tonight. So those are 2 big teams. Obviously, Portland's fighting as well. Now, Portland's on 22 points, and the Washington Spirit are at 28 points. So Portland has to win their last 2 games. Big game will be Sunday night. That is the Spirit taking on the Portland Thorns. That game is going to be on Fox Sports 1 at 8:30 p.m. Central, so 9:30 p.m. Eastern.
Not a problem at all. I just
So
make sure I had you.
tough run for the Spirit. I think it pretty much means that they are going to finish off the season and make the playoffs. They've got Crystal Dunn leading the league in scoring with 13 goals. Portland, on the other hand, they've got a lot of good players, but Alex Morgan's been sitting out until their last game, which they lost to Sky Blue FC, so obviously a huge dent to their playoffs.
The Big Blue.
A little bit of controversy there with Cameron, the goalkeeper for Sky Blue, taking out Kristen Sinclair, who looks like has some big time damage to her knee. Looks like she's out. So
that's not good at all.
For me, it's a little disappointing if Portland doesn't make it, which they probably won't. Not just because I'm a Portland fan.
Never. That would never be the reason.
But they lead the team. They lead the league in attendance, 3rd year in a row. So all years of existence. Listen, their average went up from 13,000 last year to 15,000 this year.
For women's games, that's crazy.
So love to see more teams get up there, and I have faith that someday they will. But for now, one of the best ways to sell soccer on TV is to have that crowd atmosphere there as well.
Absolutely.
So to have that team out again, it's disappointing.
It is. It absolutely is. Well, we're excited to relinquish some of the disappointment, Simon, around the studio by bringing in one of our good friends from Vavel USA, their soccer editor, one of their many soccer editors, Chris Blakely. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Maybe,
Chris? Chris? Oh, Lord.
Yes.
There we go. Oh,
kind of, sort of.
Chris?
Can you hear me, Baxter?
I can hear
there
you.
We go.
Can you hear me?
I am here.
Okay. You can hear us? Everybody's good?
Because I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Of course not. Hang tight, Chris. Hang tight.
Oh.
How about now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Aha.
Yay! Oh, my gosh. People listening at home are like, how do they not have this figured out?
We call that the 2 up front playoffs.
Yeah, honestly. Good Lord.
You never know what's going to happen.
That's right.
Oh, my gosh. Well, Chris, welcome to the show. It's so nice to have you here.
Finally.
Finally, I know. We had miscommunications.
Yeah,
Your phone wouldn't let you answer when I was calling before, and then my phone was like, you want to talk to Chris? Oh, here he is. Nah, you can't talk to him. But we got it figured out, I think. So anyway, Chris.
Hopefully. We'll see. We'll cross our fingers.
Exactly. Kind of like the Portland Thorns are doing right now with their playoff chances, Chris. Good segue. Wow. I was even happy with myself on that one. Anyway, what can you tell us, Chris, about the upcoming NWSL playoffs? We know that there is a pretty good chance that there are going to be the top 4 teams are going to make it right now, unless a pure miracle happens for the Portland Thorns.
We got 3 of the 4 spots are already taken care of. Have obviously Seattle, who just clinched the Shield last night for the 2nd straight year. You got Chicago, who's sitting in 2nd. You got FC Kansas City, who's sitting in 3rd. Your 4th place team is the lovely Washington Spirit.
Who it's 0-0, by the way. I don't know if you're watching the game, Chris. 0-0 with Washington
and Kansas City.
Okay, no,
right?
I did not know that.
Yep.
Yeah, we're watching. We have the game on in the studio right now.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
And then that 5th and last spot is obviously down there in Portland. I do know that. Yes, sorry.
There's a 5th spot?
I do know that if Washington pulls out a tie today, that eliminates Portland. So pretty much a winner, a tie, in Portland seasons. Even though it's not over, but it's over.
Okay.
If I've done all my math correctly, which I mean, wasn't always best at math, so who knows?
We get what we
There's
pay
all
for
these
on this one.
tiebreakers and things. But yeah, from what I understand and what I read, a tie or a win by Washington, and they're in.
Okay, which is kind of a bummer for Portland because Providence Park is hosting the NWSL final this year.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm not heartbroken.
Wow.
But
As a Sounders fan, just general Seattle sports fan, I'm sure you're not heartbroken.
yeah,
Anytime
it's
you can...
you know, that I will give Portland their credit when it's due. They do a great job. They fill that stadium up. They've sold. They actually a couple. It's been about a month now when the Reign went down there midweek matchup at the last Wednesday of July. They actually sold the entire stadium out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which is incredible. I mean, that atmosphere down there. The Riveteers are just as good as the TA. So, you gotta tip your hat to them as much as I don't like to, but I will.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was saying, Chris, before. Well, while you were trying to come on air, is just that especially with still trying to sell this league, it's so nice to turn on the TV and see a full stadium.
Yeah,
and
that's huge.
I have faith that Providence Park will still be, if not full, quite full.
Especially if
near
Seattle makes it to the final, because that's not that long of a drive from those folks in Seattle.
I agree with that. It's one of those things that actually it got discussed in the post-game press conference last night after the Reign won. Laura Hart the Reign's head coach Laura Harvey said she knows that it's going to be packed because it's a great environment. It's great for the league. Fox Sports 1, that's probably where they want to put it, and that's probably why they moved to a neutral site location.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Absolutely.
Right.
Were you at the game last night, Chris?
Yes, I was. I was up in the what I like to call the sweat box up there, Memorial Stadium.
Okay.
It's you're talking about a stadium that was built in the early 1910s, I believe. So it's pretty old. But no, it's I was there. It was a great atmosphere. There was 4,488 people there. That's, I believe, their third straight game of over 4,000.
Is that max capacity? What's max capacity for the Reign?
Well, technically, the max capacity is like 12 or 13,000.
Right. Yeah.
But for, last year was their first year there. They only opened up the South Grandstand, which is the side that if you're watching on YouTube or TV, whatever, that you see the crowd.
Gotcha. That's a smart play then by YouTube.
After the World Cup, they started opening up the other side, the north side, and they're actually opening it up. The last two home games, they've had that open up. They've had a couple hundred on the other side. The Reign started selling their playoff tickets. They're not capping them. If they get 12,000, they get 12,000. If they get 10,000, they get 10.
That's awesome.
That's great.
There's no limit.
Okay. Good for them.
It's great. And, I mean, honestly, last night they had a little promotion going on because Seattle Storm, the local WNBA team, they had what they called their Reign Storm night. It was kind of cool.
Cool.
If you get a chance, look up the scarf. It's actually a pretty sweet scarf. I wish I could have got one myself.
Media probs.
Yeah.
That happens. I understand your pain.
No, I'm glad to hear some of the training wheels are coming off and at least testing the waters a bit with not capping that stadium and seeing what they can bring in there.
Definitely. I mean, and that was their biggest, they were hesitant because their 2013 season was just absolutely horrible. I mean, they were the worst league in the team. They pretty much had the same players they have now. I mean, obviously they made key additions like the Kim Little and the Mary Mathis. And
what a pickup Kim Little is. I mean,
seriously.
I could spend the rest of the day talking about her.
I too. You could say she hasn't made a little impact.
But hey, you're not a dad yet. You don't get to tell dad jokes.
Darn it.
Come on, save that for me and Simon.
I know. I'm so sorry. You guys can use that. That one was free. You can use that one later.
If I could only tell you the look I would get from my daughter.
She'd be like, Dad.
But it's great. They're doing all the right things. But 2013 was horrible. They moved to Memorial Stadium. It's in the heart of Seattle. It's a pain in the butt to get to. Trust me, I know. Especially with those 7:00 midweek games. But they've done well. They're doing the right thing. They've made it pretty much to where they're not competing with the Sounders. So that's always been a
huge.
big issue for them. Is am I going to go watch the Sounders or am I going to go watch the Reign? 9 out of 10 people, sadly, are going to choose the Sounders. But it is what it is with women's sports in America right now. But I honestly, seriously think it's going to get better. But one of the things I wanted to mention was the way I think it can get better is if the NWSL actually can get themselves a really good TV deal.
Which they're trying to do, I feel like.
Well, I mean, yes, they're trying, but the problem is all 3 years, the season's halfway done, and then they're like, oh, hey, we did a TV deal.
Right.
You know, or maybe, you know what, first season I might be mistaken. They may have actually had a TV deal, but it wasn't that great.
No.
And then last year, ESPN says, oh, yeah, we'll pick these up, but we're going to show them on ESPN3. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know my games. I actually want to be able to turn on my TV that I pay all that money per month, and I want to watch a sporting event.
Well, I was talking to Simon even before the game because we have FC Kansas City Washington Spirit on right now. We're watching it live on YouTube. I think that's a brilliant idea, personally, because it's free. And as long as you have an internet connection, you can watch the game. And you don't have to like have a weird account with anybody. You can just be a casual person, and you can go on YouTube and stream the game live, which I think is a great idea. I definitely want it to be available on national television, obviously, but I think that having the YouTube option has been tremendous for the growth, personally.
Well, you know, I think what they really need to do is kind of similar to MLS, and obviously it's taken MLS 15 plus years to get where they are, almost 20, to actually get to the status they're at. But they need to, you know, whether it be ESPN or Fox Sports, they need to actually, you know, get a full year or two contract, and then have a game a week. You know, have a game of the week on Fox Sports 1. Have it every Sunday night. Who cares?
Yeah,
get these ladies on. And get them on TV. They deserve it.
And try to get a dedicated time as well, which can be tough in the sports landscape of the U.S. But you know, if for the first few years you can get not just a day but a specific time slot, so everybody knows where to go at that time. I think that was one of the key things that, you know, that MLS had there for a while. Now it's a big enough league that people are purposefully going to look up when their team is playing. But yeah, it's critical to get that destination time slot.
Absolutely.
I heard you guys doing your, was that 50-50?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I know the question was about resting starters and so forth, and I'm glad I happened to be listening when you guys talked about that, because that's something that Laura Harvey's been talking about with the Reign the last couple of weeks, because they knew the Shield was in grasp, you know, and all this, and they knew how many points they needed to get. Laura Harvey, you know, as I mentioned, she mentioned numerous times of the mistakes they made last year when they rested players because they clinched the Shield so soon. They were still like
last year I feel like a special time. They just blew through the league last year.
Well, yeah, I mean they 16-2-6. I mean, nobody's going to ever replicate that again.
No.
I mean, the best the Reign can do this year is 14 wins, and I doubt they'll get 14. I think it'll be 13. But, you know, she said she rested the players when she shouldn't have. And even though it was a game here, a game there, they got rusty. So she's been saying for the last few weeks, we're going to play. My starters are going to play. I'm not holding back anything, so forth. You know, obviously, if somebody's got a minor injury or something, yeah, they'll probably get rested. But other than that, I mean, she said she's not making.
Did we lose you again, Chris?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. We had a little bleep there. She's a smart lady, I would have to say. Since I was the one arguing for that. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you know. And I was going to say Baxter. I have to agree with Simon. I'm sorry.
He's.
You know, it's okay if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in that final game. It won't hurt my feelings.
Of course not. You heard about Jordy Nelson, I'm assuming.
Sadly, I did. Yeah. I mean,
it is unfortunate. You know, he's one of the good guys in the league, but
yeah, definitely for sure. He's any injuries at this time of year, it's horrible, regardless of who it is. Colin Kaepernick right now, even though he plays for the 49ers and I can't stand them, he could break his leg tomorrow, and I would feel bad.
Yeah, I mean, again, great player. I mean, one of the best in the league right now, and
definitely.
You certainly hope you don't see that happen to players like Crystal Dunn, even for Washington Spirit, but definitely Kim Little, Beverly Yanez for Seattle. It's you get some.
Yanez, she actually got hurt last Friday night.
Oh, did she?
Houston, and Laura Harvey didn't really mention what the injury was, but one of the gentlemen after the game asked her about her, and she said she doesn't expect to see her back with the rest of the regular season. Granted, it's only 2 games.
Sure.
But it was a non-contact injury. She just was going after the ball and she just kind of fell. She tried to tough it out, but she had to be subbed off. But the problem is, it's like they don't lose any production losing Yanez because they got Katrina I can't pronounce her last name. I feel bad, but anyway, she's great. Her and Merritt Mathis up top for the Reign. They're great. Hold up, forwards, and they make great runs into the box that allow players like a Kim Little, a Jess Fishlock, even a Megan Rapinoe, who's technically listed as a forward, but she plays more of a midfield role for the Reign.
Okay.
Kim Little, because of Yanez, because of Mathis, because of all the other players, that's why Little's doing so well these last few weeks. 4 goals in 6 games, 6 in her last 6.
That's impressive on anybody's part.
Yeah, it might be a stretch, but she's making a great case to win the MVP again. Right now, Crystal Dunn has it. If she keeps scoring, she'll probably get it.
Yes.
But if for somehow, let's say Little scores 2 on Saturday and then scores 2 on next week when they play Washington, all of a sudden maybe she has more goals. She's you never know. Well, for a while it was a 1-person race, but now it's definitely a 2-person race.
Well, yeah. Well, the other thing that Kim Little has working for her, she also, she's second in scoring, but she leads the league in assists.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Definitely. She's so good, and I forget she's only 25.
Really?
Right.
She's got it, and I would say she's got a good 5-6 years. NWSL is pretty physical.
It is.
A lot of people compare her to Messi, and they say she's the women's Messi.
Wow.
She's that good. She's absolutely incredible. And honestly, I would say she's probably the best at her position in the world.
Well, she's certainly showing that this season.
Well, in the women's game, obviously, yeah. That's.
Yes.
Is she? What is her official? Is she an attacking midfielder? What does she line up at on the roster card?
She does track back on defense here and there, but it's more she's staying, right around midfield, and obviously she's making all of her runs into the box. Jess Fishlock is probably more of your defensive.
Yeah.
She's kind of in the middle. And Keelan Winters is your, for sure, defensive midfielder, kind of like Osvaldo Alonso for the Sounders.
Makes sense. It's a good comparison. All right. Well, Chris, any other final insights or thoughts for us before we got to let you go?
No. Other than, the Reign play Saturday against Sky Blue FC. A little birdie told me the NWSL commissioner is going to be in Seattle to present them with the shield. So basically, they'll take it out of the closet, hand it to them, put them back in. And then they're doing a little media session at halftime. So look out for something on that over at Babel USA.
Fantastic. Well, Chris, we appreciate your time today, sir. You can follow Chris you can follow his work over at Babel USA, but you can also follow him at the Real C Blakely on Twitter. Chris, always a pleasure, sir. We appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing more of your awesome work over at Babel USA and having you on the program again in the future.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Thanks, Chris.
Anytime. Chris Blakely, a good friend of the show, chatting about the NWSL playoffs. I always appreciate his insight and his subtle jabs at Portland sports just to give Simon get him a little fired up. So we're going to go to a break. When we come back, Simon, the Champions League draw is officially out. And we're going to chat a little bit about that and also give our predictions of who we think the 2 teams out of each group are that are going to be sneaking out into the knockout round. We're going to talk about that and much more. This is 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to another edition of 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
Welcome back inside the studio as we continue to roll on with our show, our 21st show, Simon. 21st.
21st?
How does that make you feel?
Makes me feel like I'm 21 all over again.
Oh, okay. That's.
How about you?
I honestly wasn't expecting that sort of response, so I don't know how I feel anymore. No, I feel good. I'm excited about it, and I think that it's a awesome thing to keep having the continued growth of our show.
Yes.
And it's all thanks to the listeners.
Yeah, we got people tweeting in as we're on Periscope here. Yeah, and I appreciate the person who did the hashtag technology.
Honestly,
thumbs up.
Appreciate you. CPlath10 for you out there that made that comment. Thank you, because some days I swear. But it's not the users. Most people are like, oh, it's the users. It's not the users. It's the cord. Everything's plugged in where it's supposed to be. But some days, anyway, it's all good. But we appreciate your listenership, but you can also interact with us on social media as well. You can follow him at Simon Provan. I'm at Baxter Colburn, and then at 2UpFront Soccer on Twitter, 2UpFront on Facebook, and then at 2UpFront Soccer on Instagram as well. A lot of exciting things happening over the next few weeks for our show. We're going to be going to a few different pubs around the greater Milwaukee area, so be on the lookout for our official announcements for where we will be, and if you can come out and listen to us and all of that and interact with us. And
the plan is to do them all during EPL games and EPL games of note.
Yes, of note.
Is
I mean,
goal
we're not going to
there.
go to Leicester something. I don't know. I mean, Leicester actually might put on
That
a good
could
game.
be a good. Yeah, but let's say Sunderland
And Stoke.
there you go.
I would not pay money to go. I mean,
Well, you get to watch Jeff Cameron though,
I
possibly for
suppose.
Stoke.
Good old GF.
The only outfield player that's an American in the EPL right now.
That people actually like Jeff Cameron.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
There you go. He's a likable guy.
I don't know him personally, but
I've never had a problem with him. Jeff and I are tight. No, I'm not going to pretend like I know him. Anyway, so the Champions League draw occurred today. I feel like we need that theme music, the Champions,
Yes, right,
or whatever,
right.
like in the background. But we don't have that, unfortunately. Our house band and choir are off this weekend, so we're not going to sing it. So even though I kind of did, but anyway, so we're going to walk through group by group, Simon, real quick, and say who's in the group, but also offer our predictions of the two teams we think are going to get out of the group as well.
sounds good.
So Group A, Simon, we have Paris Saint-Germain, or PSG for you Americans. Real Madrid, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that next one. Shakhtar Donetsk, and then Malmo.
Yes. PSG and Real Madrid are my picks.
Yep, they're my picks as well. Malmo, I feel like, has got that closet off chance, but PSG and Real Madrid are just way too good. Personally.
Yeah, with Shakhtar, they can be a decent side, and they are. Obviously, they're in the Champions League, and they're in the Champions League a lot. But when you got two teams like PSG and Real Madrid, it's hard not to pick them.
You would literally need Ronaldo to break his leg and PSG to go bankrupt for that to happen.
There you go. Yeah, that's about it.
Well, now
That's
you know.
about it.
Malmo and Shakhtar start game planning accordingly. Honestly, the soccer world would stop if Shakhtar and Malmo got out of that group.
Yes.
I would laugh. I wouldn't even know. I'd have to write about it.
I think if Shakhtar got through, that wouldn't be a huge surprise.
Who would they take out?
I think it would be either PSG or Real Madrid.
Well, obviously, but out of the two, I think it would be PSG that they would knock off.
Yeah, I kind of have this feeling that PSG might make it to the final this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Early prediction. You heard it here first. Simon thinks PSG might be one of the top two. Fair enough. That's interesting theory. All right. Group B, you have PSV Eindhoven, Manchester United, CSK Moscow, and Wolfsburg. I'm going to go on the edge and say Wolfsburg and United are going to make it out.
Those are my picks as well.
Really? I thought you might have gone for PSV.
No, I think, you got Wolfsburg from the Bundesliga.
They're just fun to say.
It is fun to say as well. I think they're too strong for the other two teams.
Fair enough.
I actually think they may win the group.
Wolfsburg?
Yes, I think that might be one of the surprises of the group because Manchester United, though I picked them to win the Premier League, they have not been impressive.
Fair enough.
And if that continues in Champions League, I'm going with Wolfsburg to win the group.
Fair enough. But yeah, United and Wolfsburg are Simon and I's picks to get out of Group B. Group C, you have Benfica, Galatasaray, Atletico Madrid, and FK Astana. These are just fun names to say.
Very fun.
Atletico Madrid for sure, in my opinion. And, I mean, Benfica seems like the obvious choice, but I don't know. Is it as obvious as I think it is?
I think it. No, I don't think it is. I think they'll actually have a good fight with Galatasaray, but I think Benfica is going to be the one to pull it out.
Yep, no, I'd have to agree with you on that one. Atletico Madrid, for sure, we saw them dominate the last few years, and just even in La Liga, it's becoming a 3-team La Liga, thanks to the play of Atletico Madrid. It's not just Real Madrid and Barcelona anymore, which is good to see, because I was getting really tired, and that was one of the reasons I just don't follow the league, because it's like, oh, Real Madrid and Barcelona are 1 and 2 again.
Sure.
So what?
Yeah. Goes back to what we talk about. We know MLS is nowhere near the level of play of those two teams.
No.
But at least the league as a whole is interesting. You know, that there's
a good chance that it might not be the same team every
look
year.
at last night. Chicago Fire beating the New York Red Bulls.
That's unheard of.
You know, that's the point, though. It's not. In MLS, it's not.
That's true.
You know, but if you look at Real Madrid losing to whatever last place team is in La Liga, which I don't even know what they're called.
Even tell you or pronounce it.
That would be, talk about stopping the world of soccer.
No kidding.
That would be enormous.
A travesty. Absolutely. Well, Group D, probably the group of death, I think is the best.
Oh, absolutely.
You have Juventus, Manchester City, Sevilla, and Borussia Mönchengladbach. I don't even know.
Michael Bradley's old team. One of his old teams. Trust me, it's true.
Mönchengladbach there?
That's Borussia. That's one name.
Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Yeah. Yes, that's the team name. That's
one of Bradley's old teams?
Yeah, in the Bundesliga. A few years ago.
When did he play for them?
Here, should I Wikipedia just to prove it to you?
Honestly.
These are the stats that just are the information that just sticks in my head.
Yeah. See, this was like an NFL discussion. We just would be rotated.
Right.
I feel like. But yeah, when it comes to like old soccer news, unless it's Revolution based, I got nothing for you. So,
fair enough. I appreciate the honesty.
Absolutely. I try to be an open book on this. Sevilla for sure. In my opinion, they won Europa League last year, and I think that I was listening to the Counterattack today on Sirius XM FC, and they said there's a great chance that all 5 La Liga teams make it to the round of 16.
Really?
Yes.
Sevilla, they've not only won the last Europa League, they've won it 2 years in a row, and they've actually won it 4 of the last 9 years.
Good Lord.
So they've got the pedigree.
Name.
They know how to take care of business in Europe. At the same time, Juventus has been quite strong, and they're going back to the Juventus of the 80s, just owning the Serie A there in Italy. Yeah, this is a tough one for me. I think I'm going to go with Man City and Juventus.
Oh, okay.
Here's the crazy thing. Man City finally gets in the top pot this year, and they still get a crazy group that they have to play out of.
No, I agree. I'm going to go with Juventus and Sevilla.
Okay.
I think City is going to not be able to handle the quick attack of Sevilla, and Juventus, like you said, they're just too strong right now. And, all right, moving on to Group E. Barcelona, Bayer Leverkusen, AS Roma, and is that Bate Borisov?
Sure, something like that.
All right, well, they're not going to make it, so we don't really care. No offense, but Barcelona, obviously, that's pretty.
Yep, then you're going to have a fight between Roma and Leverkusen.
And I've got Leverkusen.
I got Roma.
Okay, I like it when we don't agree sometimes.
Me too.
Makes for interesting debates. Group F, Bayern Munich, Arsenal, I know how to say this. Olympiacos, there we go, and Dynamo Zagreb.
It's Russian, so I have no idea.
Yeah. Fun fact. Oh no, I'm sorry, not that. I'm just kidding. Dynamo Zagreb. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're not going to make it out. Arsenal and Bayern Munich. Olympiacos is going to
Too
try.
easy.
I could see Olympiacos stealing their home game against Arsenal from them.
Okay.
But I don't think Arsenal is going to not make it through.
I'll go a step further. I think Arsenal will make it, but I think they'll get knocked out in the round of 16.
Yeah. No, I agree. Arsenal just doesn't have the firepower this year. If they were to actually land one of their multiple rumored transfers, like a Cavani or
and that's the thing, going back to Manchester United too. If they they were going after Bale for quite a while,
they still are
going
they
after
tried again recently.
Yeah, now they're going after Neymar Jr. as well. Be interested to see if they land one of those guys. And with their goalkeeper situation still unsettled.
Well, I think that's why they're trying to go after Neymar, or that's why they're trying to go after Gareth Bale, is because they're going to try to use De Gea as a gambling chip.
Ah, there you go. Makes sense.
That's some of the things I've heard recently.
That makes sense.
So, which makes sense if you have an unsettled goalkeeper. You don't want him on your team, obviously, because he's your goalkeeper, and you could just step aside and be like, "Oh, there you go." I know he wouldn't, but why not? Why not use him as a gambling chip? One of the quote-unquote best goalies in the world right now. Use him as a gambling chip and help boost your offense. If you're content with who you have behind De Gea, which I think United pretty much is, you'd be fine.
And you look at it this way, too. So they make it through the season with the keeper they're using instead of De Gea. Maybe that it helps to attract the type of keeper that you're hoping to get.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with you on that one. All right, Group G is probably one of the second easiest, I believe. You have Chelsea, FC Porto, Dynamo Kiev, and
Tel Aviv.
Yep. I was going to try, and I'm like, no. Chelsea and... probably Porto.
That's what I'm picking, FC Porto.
Dynamo Kiev with an outside chance, but Porto's too strong, I think.
And then...
The sleeper group.
Group H.
Zenit St. Petersburg, Valencia, Lyon, and Ghent. Gent?
I don't know. I hate to say it. I'm going to be honest here. I don't know. But anyways, I've got Valencia and Zenit. That's who I'm going with.
I've got Valencia and Lyon.
All right. Zenit was the top-seeded team in that group.
Well,
yeah.
I like it. Pick some controversy.
There you go. Sure, why not?
Fair enough. Well, let us know your thoughts. Remember, you can tweet at us at 2UpFrontSoccer, at Simon Provan, and at Baxter Colburn with your thoughts on our predictions for the Champions League group stages. And let us know your thoughts as well. We'd love to hear from you guys because sometimes, more often than not, people don't agree with everything that we say. You had a thought? You raised
Not
your
a
hand.
thought. Just want to let you know that Michael Bradley played with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Signed with them in 2008, played with them till 2011 when he moved over to Aston Villa for a little while.
Now I know. The
There
more
you
you
go.
know, Simon.
The more you know.
I appreciate it. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, our latest predictions and power rankings are here, and we're ready to dish them out for you. This is Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
Welcome back to our show. Thanks to all of you listening. Remember, you can catch us on Fridays from 3 to 6 Eastern right here on Sports Radio America on Live 365 and tune in. You can also listen to us on demand anytime you want to on Spreaker.com, on iHeartRadio, and on iTunes as well. And if you fancy a watch and listen at the same time, you can check us out on Periscope as well. So hello to our Periscope viewers right now. Some good interaction. We had an LA Galaxy fan shouting out the colors earlier in the show. And we had some people hashtagging us in terms of our technology issues also.
Little preview, too, for our LA fan out there. Listen to our power rankings. You'll be quite pleased.
Yes, I feel like anybody in LA would be quite pleased, honestly, at that point. So, but before we get to our predictions or our power rankings, Simon, you have some interesting information.
Well, I just wanted to share, talking Champions League. I want to talk Champions League on this side of the pond. I know there's people out there going, oh, my goodness. But, hey.
No, it's fine.
MLS takes part in it, and it is it's a tournament that MLS has to win to focus on becoming a better league,
Mm-hmm.
at least with its reputation. But last night, unfortunately, MLS had its first loss in the Champions League. Seattle Sounders lost to Olympia in Honduras. Not a big surprise.
We called that loss,
We
though.
did. It's a very hostile environment. Olympia's a good team. And, I don't know how specifically their field is, because, again, they air these games on Fox Sports 2 or Fox Soccer Plus, channels that I don't have. But Olympia's a good team, hostile environment, plus Seattle, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. They're trying to get those players healthy. So Ziggy Schmid put a lot of second stringers out there last night, and that's going to total all of that up. It's going to be a loss. Still a bit respectful, 1-0. But Baxter, I get the feeling that Seattle is basically saying, and next time we have Chris on, maybe we can have a discussion about this. But I kind of have the feeling Seattle's saying with the Champions League deal that, you know what, it's not a priority. We got to get our players healthy. We got to focus on making MLS playoffs. Right. So whatever happens this year with our team in the Champions League. That's just the gut feeling I get from reading the reports from last night.
No, I agree with that. And then Tuesday night there was another victory though for MLS.
Yeah, DC United 3-0 over Montego Bay. They are out of Jamaica. So
they continue to roll. But Montego Bay, they are coached by an American. Is that correct?
They are.
His name escapes me.
Hackinson, I believe, is who it is. I believe is who it is. Forgive me if I'm wrong about that. One thing I did want to talk about, there were other results, but the big one, actually, of the night, San Francisco, out of
49ers played? That was just too easy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
It was like, shit. I had a battle in my mind. I'm like, I don't know if you should say that, Baxter.
That probably would have been even more impressive if it was the 49ers.
Fair enough.
But last in their group, they took on Querétaro. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at Spanish. Querétaro. Somebody wants to tweet in the pronunciation. That'd be awesome.
Querétaro.
Anyways, San Francisco beat them 2-1 last night.
The battles of the O's last night.
Right. Well, that's Querétaro. If you want to say it for me again.
Querétaro.
There we go. Thank you. Liga MX team and a good one.
Ooh.
So that was a
Shocking.
huge upset last night.
My goodness.
So 2-1. It's probably San Francisco.
San Francisco.
They end up taking that game 2-1.
But there was was that a red card that I saw? There was a red card for San Francisco. So San Francisco won 10 men.
10 men. How about that?
Wait. Go back. Sorry. Down again. Oh, there was a red card for both sides. So there was 10-10.
Oh, there you go.
Huh. Sorry, I noticed that. I wanted to
once again, you look at this, a total stoppage time of 6 minutes and 17 seconds. CONCACAF. That just means there was a lot of probably time wasting or
that's maybe where the red cards came involved.
Right. So there you go. Just a quick update on CONCACAF Champions League. The MLS teams. The one thing about Seattle is they're also in a group with the Vancouver Whitecaps. So you're going to have an MLS team not make it out of that group. So you'll have at least one MLS team not make it to the group or the knockout rounds,
which is not horrible, I guess. I mean, obviously we want to see the league continue to grow as much as possible, but at that point, I mean, if it's Seattle that doesn't make it, I'm sure neither of us will be heartbroken.
I won't be heartbroken.
No, I won't either. All right, Simon, looking ahead, we have our latest predictions for this week in MLS action, starting this very evening for those of you that will be listening on Sports Radio America. So tonight is the California Classico, San Jose versus the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, this is in San Jose.
Which is always a hostile place, and I feel like San Jose always gets 10 times better in this game in San Jose.
Yeah, again, we got San Jose on a 3-game win streak. I mean, they've
scored 8
beating
goals
good teams
in the last 3 games.
Right. DC United, they beat 2-0 Kansas City. Now, granted, we both talked about how tired Kansas City looked.
But still, take it for what it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's still a 5-0 win. I almost want to call an upset here because I think it would be an upset for San Jose to beat LA.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd like to call an upset, but I'm not going to. I'm still picking the Galaxy.
Okay, and I want to agree with you in terms of San Jose, like with that upset factor, but it's just really it's hard because Chris Wondolowski is back. He's doing lots of Wando things, but Robbie Keane has got the luck of the Irish on his side right now with all the goals he's scoring.
He's got the luck of the Irish.
Is too legit to quit.
I'll tell you what, out of all the big names with LA,
yes,
I have been most impressed with Sebastian Lletget.
Yes.
That flick on that he had in the I'm sorry, I can't remember which goal
York?
it was. But my God, he takes
There
the
was a lot
ball
of
out
goals.
of the air, just flicks it back. I believe it was Robbie Rogers that run onto it. But that all started
yes,
with
that was-
Sebastian Legit and that awareness and the way he can predict the game. I mean, he is incredibly impressive for what he's getting paid compared to the rest of the guys.
Yes.
That to me is LA's best pickup of the season.
I think you have to make. I feel like he should win the newcomer of the year. In all honesty, but I mean, I have to acknowledge this. The Chris Blakely was just on, just periscoped. Comment just said he feels creepy for watching us, but it's not creepy, Chris. It's all good. It's only creepy if you make it creepy. But we appreciate you coming on the show. So shout out to you from that. But anyway, I was like, I have to say something about that. But I do find it funny, though, too. CPlath10 commented on Periscope as well, saying that Wando equal toe goals. Like he uses his toe.
Yes.
There's a lot of toe poke goals.
Right there. Toe pokes and PKs.
Mhm.
That's Wando's game.
As long as your team is winning,
Unless you're playing Belgium.
then
Oh,
it's
did I
it's
just
air
say
balls.
that? Well, he had the possible toe poke goal against
Was
Belgium.
that two win? Two win. Too
would've-
soon? It's been a year. I swear, if people haven't moved on yet.
Let's move on, speaking of moving on.
Please. All right, so we're both taking LA at the end of the day against San Jose. NYC FC versus the Columbus Crew kicking off Saturday's action. How do you feel about that game?
Well, I picked the away team in the first game of the weekend, and I'm going to stick with that. I think Columbus is going to beat NYCFC.
I am going to go with NYC on this one.
All right.
I think that this would be a good game for them to get some momentum in, and I think Columbus has not been playing as good as they have in recent games.
Well, they're on I believe it's a 3-game unbeaten streak right now.
Yes,
but you're
but-
right. Their character in those wins has...
They just drew NYCFC 2 games ago, and I think that NYCFC's got it out for them right now. So I like that. I like
Sure.
the chance.
Sure.
TFC with Toronto against Montreal. I've got Toronto in this game.
Me too.
Yep.
Which scares me a bit because Toronto, other than that Orlando game, it's just not been looking well. Altidore got us 2 goals. One of them was not a PK. It was actually off his head. And I have Josie always seems the type of player that once he gets a couple of goals, he likes to say he never loses his confidence, but it sure seems to be after he scores a few that all of a sudden
He loses
he's playing
confidence
a lot
every time
better.
he puts a U.S. jersey on, I feel like.
Yeah.
Anyway, Philly and New England. I've got New England in this game. And that's an unbiased perspective, too.
Okay, why is it an unbiased perspective?
Because the Revolution are coming off a week of rest. They defeated the Houston Dynamo 2-0 2 weeks ago, and then they had a nice rest, and they're coming back, and they're on a 4-game unbeaten streak, and I think that this would be a good opportunity for them to continue to move up the table and hopefully knock off a competitor that is going to try to take one of the playoff spots away from them.
The thing I'm going to add to that is Jay Heaps just signed a contract extension. The
As
players
well
are going
as-
to want to reward him.
And same with Bobby Shuttleworth.
Bobby
their
Shuttleworth.
their goalkeeper also.
So, yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I'll pick the Revs as well.
Orlando and Chicago. I know who I'm taking.
This is a tough one. It's in Orlando. I'm taking Chicago.
I've got Chicago too.
Oh,
I wanted to pick Orlando, but my heart's like, don't do it. Don't be that guy. Colorado and Sporting.
This is a tough one right now because Sporting is not performing well at all. They've been tired, but 2 losses in a row. Obviously that 5-0 loss to San Jose, but then they also lost to the Crew 3-2.
Does Colorado pounce and on a weakened Sporting KC?
Here's the other thing too. Colorado has a short turnaround. They just played last night. Now they're
Yep.
going to be playing on Saturday. I'm going to take. I can't pick Colorado. I'm going to take Sporting on this.
I have to agree, unfortunately.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
FC Dallas, RSL. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say RSL.
I'll pick
Did I-
FC Dallas.
I was going to say, did you want RSL?
No, it's a tough one for me because as bad as FC Dallas has been, I don't believe they're that bad.
They've
You know what
lost
I
their
mean?
last 3 games.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. As bad as they're playing, I don't believe they're that bad.
Okay.
So I'm going to take FC Dallas on this.
Fair enough. Houston and Vancouver. Vancouver, like I say it every week, they are white hot. I've got to take the Whitecaps.
Yeah, I've got to take the Whitecaps as well. That one's too easy.
The Cascadia match of the week, the Sounders and the Timbers.
Chris is going to be so pleased that I am picking my team instead of his.
Well done. Well done. I got to go with Portland, too, on this one. Seattle, they always manage to show up in these games, but it's just Portland, for me right now, is really just taking the cake. It's funny. Portland's been a bit of a streaky team as well, and it's not even so much in their results as it is in the way they play. There's games where they just, they get 2 or 3 games where everything is just clicking. They may not even necessarily win that game, but everything's clicking. And then they may have a game that they're not playing so well, but they end up pulling out a win. They haven't had too many losses on the season. They are also on a 4-game unbeaten streak. The thing that scares me about Portland is they tend to let goals in early, and then they got to claw their way back. And this game's in Seattle, too.
The game is in Seattle.
It's going to be a hostile environment.
It is. I feel like, maybe Chris would agree with me on this, too. I feel like that both these teams really don't get phased too much. When Seattle is at Providence Park, Seattle doesn't get phased too much.
It's just it's similar atmospheres.
Right. Yeah, they're both used to it. It's week in, week out for them. But it comes down to really, it's a sin for me to pick the Sounders when they're playing Portland.
I agree. No, I got to go with Portland. And then our final game of the week, you got the Red Bulls and DC United on Sunday action.
I'm taking this is actually a very easy pick for me.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Red Bulls.
Yeah, I was right there with you too. There is
you got a friendly.
There's a friendly. Yeah, it'll be airing toward on the end of our show next week.
Right.
So we'll mention it quickly. The United States and Peru will obviously be more in depth with this next week when we tune in. But United States and Peru, just early prediction.
By the way, it's at 6 o'clock Central on Fox Sports 1. I'm picking a draw. I have no idea.
What?
I'm picking a draw.
Against Peru?
Yeah.
Do we even know the squad yet?
You know why I'm picking a draw? Because Klinsman's the manager.
Okay. Yeah,
right?
no.
We lost to Jamaica in a competitive game.
True. But it's Peru. Okay, fair enough. Anyway.
Silence from Simon.
I know, he just stared at me. I'm like, fine. Okay. Anyway.
Who are you picking?
I don't know. United States. It's Peru.
Okay. All right.
It's Peru. Anyway, our new power rankings are out, Simon. Let's stray away from predictions. This is power rankings and predictions give me gray hairs. All right, Simon. Our new top 5 this week. Some new, some same. My outside looking in this week is the Columbus Crew, actually. They were higher up in my rankings last week, but they have trotted outside just barely.
I have the Crew as well as outside looking in. Again, 3-game unbeaten streak. But I also have a team that I had in the rankings that I've dropped, and that would be Portland Timbers.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
They're my Western team that's on the outside looking in.
Okay, fair enough. Well, my number 5 was going to be my number 3, but then they lost last night. That was the New York Red Bulls. And my argument for this is, how do you lose to the Chicago Fire? You don't lose to the Chicago Fire if you're one of the best teams in the league. You don't get outworked. You don't have a sloppy game. You just don't lose to the worst team in the league.
Points-wise, worst team. But the way they played last night, the Fire, you can't deny that they played like a team that's in the playoffs. That they played like they're one of the better teams. And as I talked about, usually I would agree with you on that. I mean, if we're talking Colorado, absolutely I'm going to drop New York. But I felt that the Fire had an exceptional game last night. New York still hung with them. It was a very exciting game, actually, back and forth the entire time. So I can't drop New York too far because of that. Anyways, you have New York. You did drop New York, and I understand why. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you, but giving you my reasons for why they are where they are in mine, which you'll find out in a little while.
Fair enough.
My number 5 is actually the San Jose Earthquakes. I can't deny it anymore. They've been man. We've talked about it already in the show, so I don't want to belabor the point. Hot streak, I mean, three-game winning streak against good teams. Started with the 1-0 over Colorado, but then, as you said, 8 goals, 3 shutouts.
Yeah.
In those
That's
8-goal
huge.
games.
That is absolutely huge.
San Jose has earned their way into my power rankings.
Well, San Jose has earned it into mine as well.
Oh, they have?
They have, yeah.
Right.
They've jumped up farther up the list, but we'll get to them in a moment. Who is your number 4 team, Simon?
My number 4 team is your team. And
Oh.
I think we
have
may
the same number 4 team.
New England Revolution.
Yes, like I mentioned earlier, on a 4-game unbeaten streak. Yes, they had last week off. That's why they bumped down to 4 in my list. They were 3, bumped them down to 4 just because I want to be fair. I'm a firm believer in if they've been on an unbeaten streak and then they go on a bye week, that I'm usually only going to drop them a place.
It's interesting because I have a similar philosophy, but my philosophy is don't move them at all.
Well,
I say that, but then throughout the season, I've always dropped the team when they've been on a bye
exactly.
week.
I think unless there's teams, for an exception, that do amazing.
Right.
That, who my number 3 is, which is San Jose.
San Jose, you got
That's why.
That was my number 5.
San Jose, I was like, you know what? San Jose, like you said, they're on a 3-game unbeaten streak. They've shut out their last 3 teams. I know we continue to beat it into the ground, but honestly, they, in my opinion, when it came to these rankings, that made the most sense. I'm like, you know what, New England, you've played great. You've played great your last 4 games, but I'm gonna keep you in the rankings, but I'm gonna just bump you down just a little bit and make room for San Jose to show some respect to how San Jose's played over the last 3 games.
Well, my number 3 is another one of your favorite teams, the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Woo!
Not only they beat FC Dallas 1-0, but then of course last night they also won the Canadian Championship, the
Yes, they
Amway
did.
Canadian Championship.
4-2 in aggregate.
And granted, that's outside of the league, but I got to give them credit for that as well. So I have them as my number 3, and you have for your number 2.
My number 2 is Vancouver.
Right.
My number 1 and 2 have not changed this week.
Okay. My 1 and 2 also have not changed, which may surprise you.
It does.
My number 2 is still the Red Bulls. I'm of the mind, Baxter, that the Red Bulls are better than what they showed last night. If you look at where that's their first loss in 6 games. So it was, again, a really strong Chicago Fire team they played last night. To me, it was a blip on the radar. So I'm actually not going to punish the Red Bulls for that.
Okay.
Every great team. I mean, look at Barcelona losing the Super Cup this year.
Yeah.
Every great team, every good team in this case, is going to have a blip.
Yes.
So I'm not really going to punish them for that. I'll wait to see this weekend how it goes.
Okay. No, I totally understand that concept and the reasoning behind that. Vancouver still my number 2, 45 points, number 2 overall in the Western Conference. They are scoring goals in bunches. They've got
Shield leaders right now too.
They are not the Shield leaders. No, the Galaxy are still ahead of them.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. Okay.
Galaxy are still ahead of them. However, Vancouver have the most wins.
Right.
They have 14 total
and
wins.
higher points per game average at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. They have 21 home goals this year, 17 on the road, so it's good that they can score home and away.
Well, you got players like Maddox and
Darren Maddox.
And the guy with the name, the last name that starts with an O, or Rivero. Is that who I'm thinking of? Rivero.
Olivia Rivero.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, hot as well.
Absolutely. And then they've got Kekuta Mane, I think. He's a winger for them. I don't know if that's the right way to pronounce his first name, but just a lot of exciting. And then Eric Hurtado as well, one of their strikers. Just a good. I just enjoy the Vancouver roster.
I love Carl Robinson and the way he manages that team.
Absolutely. Well, my number 1 doesn't change.
My number 1 does not change, and I don't see it changing throughout really the season, to be honest with you.
It would take Vancouver going lights out the rest of the way for me to change my number 1.
Sure.
And even if they did, they'd have to dethrone who our number 1 is, who is the LA Galaxy.
This is the longest that I've had a single team on my power rankings, combined with our old 2 up front combined power rankings.
Yes.
This is, I think, the 5th week for me, then the 4th week for you.
Yeah, I think LA has really started to make a claim to fame. Even when we had our combined rankings, I think that LA was still prominent in our power rankings for a majority of the season.
Yeah, I feel like at the beginning they were up and down. We were fans of FC Dallas there for a while.
Right in the beginning.
Even the Red Bulls, we had some
Vancouver and FC Dallas.
Right. But
hot
man,
for us.
LA, they're just, and again, this goes back to what I was saying about Portland. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins out of their last 10 games. But it's not just purely the wins we're talking about. It's the way they're playing lights out soccer. The team chemistry is amazing. The way these guys work together. Now they have Donovan Ricketts in goal as well. How
Literally.
about Josh Saunders coming back to LA after being a second stringer there and actually starting a few games and having got 5 goals put past you? That's a tough day in the park.
That is like, hey, welcome back, and now we're going to destroy you.
Yes, yeah. So very easy for us to pick LA. At this point, I know they're denying it, but you got to consider them favorites for MLS Cup.
Oh, I do. I absolutely do. You can't. Well, I was telling you this before. I mean, I'll just briefly touch on it fast. I wrote an article yesterday over at sidelinessapp.com saying that if the playoffs started today with the 6 teams above the red line in each conference, how it would work out. And I had an LA Red Bulls final, but I had LA winning as my
Can't
final.
argue with that. That sounds pretty good to me.
I couldn't argue against it. I'm like, I had a Vancouver LA conference final. But I in my heart, I was like, Vancouver, I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it if you could. But I'm like, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
The Red Bulls, that's the thing, too, is they're the antithesis of L.A. L.A. has all these big-time players. New York, they got decent players, good players. Bradley Wright-Phillips, Lloyd Sam.
Sean Wright-Phillips.
Sasha Klestjan, Dax McCarty. So it's kind of cool to see the antithesis in each conference.
Absolutely.
Up on top, basically.
Absolutely. All right, well, we're going to go to a break. Real fast, though, for you. Our new power rankings out this week. Simon and I both keeping LA at number 1. And then Simon has the Red Bulls at number 2. I have Vancouver at number 2. Number 3 for Simon is the Vancouver Whitecaps. My number 3 is San Jose. Both of us have the Revolution at number 4. And then Simon has San Jose at his 5th spot, and mine is wrapped up with the New York Red Bulls.
And Washington and FC Kansas City in the NWSL. Still 0-0 with about 8 minutes to go. Spirit probably will clinch tonight.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see. We'll see if anything happens in the last few moments of the show here. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, it will be time for our I Believe segment. You're not going to want to miss it. This is the 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to another edition of 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
All right, Simon, it is that time. Do you know what time it is? Not game time.
It's not game time.
It's not game time.
It's I Believe time.
Yes, indeed. Well, that means that Simon and I are going to be offering our I Believe segments. And the way it works is that we both offer a comment about something happening in the soccer world. For example, this is not my official I Believe, but I believe that the next soccer balls that they use for the World Cup will be groundbreaking, and it will, I don't know. You get the general idea, okay?
You're running out of examples, but I appreciate the commitment.
I'm open to more examples to use, honestly. Like, I could have, yeah. I forget what I said last week, but it was interesting. Although all the new technology, side note, that they keep putting into soccer balls now that you can track like your passing index, your shot speed, all the touches on the ball, is crazy. Adidas is going ham with all of those things. Anyway, all right, Simon, I've got my I Believe. Are you ready?
Sure.
Yeah.
Want me to
go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I will go first. My I Believe, Simon, is that I believe that not the Seattle Reign. No. I believe that the Chicago Red Stars will win the NWSL championship.
Ooh.
I believe.
Can you tell me why you believe that?
Well, I believe that the fact that Christian Press is on their team, their offense has continued to flow. The team as a whole has been looking dominant. They've got Julie Johnston back on defense, as we saw her for the U.S. Women's National Team, a solid cog in the defense. And I think that it's time for the rain to dry up on the West Coast.
All right. I like that. That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I stayed up all night for that one.
So I've got kind of a week, I believe. Sorry to tell you that. But here's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
I believe that neither Real Madrid or Barcelona will win Champions League this year.
I'd actually agree with you on that one.
There you go. That's my belief.
Do you have a general
Well, I think
Barcelona's
Barcelona's actually a bit
washed up,
overrated. A little overrated this year.
Overhyped.
I think like all great dynasties, they come to an end, and I just again losing in the Super Cup.
Who's their goalie?
Oh, you're asking me questions that I can't.
I don't even know who
now.
Barcelona's goalie is.
Here, I will admit this with how much time I spend watching and looking into MLS.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me at this point to really know what's going on with all the other great teams in the world, which is probably horrible. But being a dad of two, working a full-time job,
you're a busy man,
plus
Simon.
some freelance work that I do as an actor. Yeah, I don't know all the answers to all the other teams in the world,
What?
but
you're a
but
dad.
once
You're
MLS
supposed
is
to know
over, then
everything.
all my energy, soccer energy,
Exactly.
then goes over to Europe, basically.
No, I'm that same way too. I mean, right now, when we were talking a few weeks ago about what EPL team do I support, and I was like, Arsenal, I think, but I don't really care right now.
I will say, I'm an Everton supporter,
Yes.
so I do at least pay attention to what's going on with Everton. Stones, shame on you. I hope you
John
stay.
Stones.
But so that's why I said I'm giving you a week one this year. I wanted to connect to the show. I just have this gut feeling that
I
Real Madrid or Barcelona won't do it.
I share it. I think it might be more of a German flavor this year.
I could see that. Yep.
I don't think the British have it in them this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, Bayern Munich, man, that's
It's
still a
dangerous
stacked team.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. For all of you that watched us on Periscope, thank you so much. We had some great comments during the show. We appreciate you guys watching and sharing the show. And also, you can listen to us, as you have been doing so far. You can listen to us right here on Sports Radio America from 3 to 6 Eastern on Fridays. And you can catch us on Live 365 and tune in, but then also on demand on iHeartRadio, on iTunes, and right here on Spreaker.com as well.
That's all I got today.
Nothing else?
Nothing else.
Nothing else? How about where we are on social media?
Oh, social media. Yes, there we go.
That's
Facebook. That's why you pointed at me.
It's and now Simon will
What
talk
a
about
great
social
ending
media,
to
and then we'll end the show.
Did we tell you the semester's starting?
Honestly.
I'm in syllabi land.
Syllabi.
Yes, Facebook, we are 2 Up Front. Twitter, we are at 2 Up Front Soccer. Instagram, we are also at 2 Up Front Soccer. You can find me on Twitter at Simon Provan. You can find Baxter on Twitter at Baxter Colburn.
Absolutely.
That would have been great if when you pointed to me, I had that much energy and did it right out of the gate.
Hey, next week. All right, we got this.
All right.
Special thanks to Vavel USA soccer editor Chris Blakely for joining us on the show. If it happens in the soccer world, we'll probably talk about it, and we'll have our strong opinions, and we might be a little too up front with what we say as well. So, with our manager being the one above, we are 2 Up Front. Enjoy your week, everyone.